Okay, this is a conference room training session for Wednesday, the August 10th. And we're going to talk about chop. And one question that was asked of me is why would I not take this elevator after it's had a lot of chop all morning, basically? And I just had told someone I would not take this elevator 3 ticks below. The reason I wouldn't take it 3 ticks below or even a tick below is because I have a mini magnet here right below it, and it's extra thick. That means it was hit here twice on yesterday. And to me, that's probably an important level. I don't know what it's going to do. I also have the bottom of a buy zone hit here. So to me, that's some pretty strong resistance. Support. I guess it's support. If I'm going to take this elevator, you can see that the elevator comes back up. After the elevator, the swing comes back up. It touched exactly on this mini magnet for Monday. I like those when they touch exactly. That means I might take it on the way down because it bounced off here exactly. The only reason that I might do that is because I could put my stop right above the ice. It's a very small risk to take. That's the only reason that I might take that, because I really, at this point, we had a big swing here. We came down, we had a sling here, came down, we had another big sling. So we're basically chopping through here. Then it came all the way up and formed an elevator. I don't like that. But what ended up happening, and we don't know it at the time, but what ended up happening is it was chop. It was getting ready to burst out. And so I always say don't take a buy at the top or a sell at the bottom of chop. Well, this would have been a sell at the bottom of chop, in my opinion. So I wouldn't have taken it at the bottom, although it would have worked out well in this case. It's just not something that I would do. I might, if I see it bounce exactly, I might jump in a little later when it starts to descend down again, knowing that it's for sure looking like it might go down. That's an iffy trade, though. It's kind of aggressive. And the only reason I like that a little bit better, like I said, was because you can put a very small stop up here, and it's a smaller risk. But I would not generally, I wouldn't probably take that, because you've had so much chop, and that's at the top of the chop. So if you're taking a sell at the top, you are sitting in a better position, and you'd get it right at the top of that whole run in that case, which would have been great. It's a little more aggressive and a little more chancy, but you're risking less. So that's the one reason I like that, is I like my smaller stops, and you could put a stop right above that. So that's one reason I would take it up there, maybe because it stopped to a dime on that mini magnet. I like that. The other place I'm gonna chance taking this elevator is right where I took it, 3 ticks below this mini magnet. So I know that it's really breaking. I'm not probably, once it breaks through here, I'm probably not going back up. And if it does, well, then, okay, I got my stop in place. And it turned out to be not a sling, so the stop was small. I put it right up at the top. Actually, it fell in wherever my automatic stop was, because I didn't realize when this was taken. I was off marking my charts up. I didn't even notice when it got engaged. Darby asked if this thick line it's a magnet that was hit more than once on the same day, and so because of that, it's going to be stronger to me. And you can see, you can barely see here, but you can see where you had a little more orders here, a little more volume on this histogram, right at the same level. That's pretty big. I mean, it's not a lot of volume there, but it's a lot more volume than, you know, over here. It was a little more volume in the area, and you had a swing level here. So you still had quite a bit of chop in here. And, you know, after the chop had a nice rhythm at first. Once it quits, I'm done. I'm done, and I'm waiting for a breakout. So that's what I did, was wait for the breakout. And then by the time I saw it, it was already way down here. So I just went ahead and let it go a little bit and protect it at negative 0.5, which happened to be 50 ticks. And it came and got me. So my stop would be, no, my stop wouldn't tend to be, well, on a swing, it's kind of difficult to say. I would have, normally I would say I would want to put the stop above this magnet, because if it's breaking this one, there's still a good chance it's going to go up and touch this one before it goes back down. And maybe you would have had a touchback to get in on. So I would tend to say put your stop up here at the earliest. My stop went wherever I automatically have it, and I got lucky and I didn't get stopped out. I'm not sure even which ATM strategy I put on there, but normally this is where I would put it. It's right above the magnet before it. Since you had two kind of spaced out magnets, told you I should have fed the kitten before I got on here. But you don't, up here you have tons of magnets close together, and we're getting them farther apart here. So there's a good chance that if the magnet wasn't there, I'd put it at 20 on a swing. On a swing, I like them at 20. Just like I have it in the forum post. So that's that one. Okay, we had lots of questions on my chop trades today. I'm going to back up a little bit and look at this. From yesterday, and this is 6 o'clock I mean, we're talking, look at this. You had all this chop, and then it broke out, and you had a nice little move overnight. It started to come down before open at 6 o'clock in the morning here, and you got a little bit of movement here, and then what happens, it hits settlement. So for me, I am going to expect, and it can do anything, so you never know, but I'm going to expect it's going to chop around here because it had a kind of a nice move. I mean, it's not a real good move, but for August, yeah, that's about, can be as good as it gets. So I'm going to expect some chop around settlement. You have settlement, you have blue ice, you have red ice, you have a magnet from Monday, a magnet from Monday, a magnet from Tuesday. So I had all these levels in here already. So I'm looking at this thinking, ew, we're going to have some chop. So that's why I went into ping pong chop mode. Let me read what Aaron's saying. I commented on the elevator because I'm used to trading on them on TF. TF, they're especially reliable. However, I don't trade NQ, so I'm not skilled at it. Elevators behave in NQ would probably burn me. Listen to known markets. Yeah, it's been a while since I traded TF, so I kind of got smacked a little bit around in TF, so I went to NQ, and I like to stick in NQ because it's just a nice market for newbies. So I try to just play there. Okay, I'm going to spread this out so we can get an idea on this chop. Whoopsie, wrong way. And we can, it's always harder to see on a dead chart than, let me disconnect my feeds so that it doesn't jump on us. Okay, it's always harder to see when you don't have it's not happening right away. I mean, it's not happening as you're doing it. Because when this bar was forming, we had just come through settlement at red ice. We had this magnet here. So at this point, I'm expecting, it's 5 minutes after open and it's not doing a whole lot. So I took a 10 tick bounce from here to here. And I was protecting pretty tight when we got to settlement, because I didn't know for sure if it was going to be bouncing, but I believe it bounced some on this bar, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's what gave me the clue to start bouncing, to take in the ping pong bounces. It bounced off the red ice at that time, yes. It hadn't come down. It bounced I believe it bounced right off this magnet when I took this off the red ice. It started going back up, so I grabbed it. It went up, I got 10 ticks. And I was thinking, my thought pattern was, it's probably going to bounce, so I'm going to go ahead, and even though I didn't quite have enough by settlement to get my 10 ticks, I kind of thought, well, you've got a magnet up here, and that's past my 10 ticks, so chances are good it's going to go ahead and go to that magnet. So that's what I was thinking, that I've got a good chance of it going past the magnet, I mean past my 10 ticks, and going up to this magnet on a bounce, because this magnet was from yesterday. This little chop box was not there yet. I pulled that down later. And in fact, I was looking at probably up here where it should have been. It really should have been up higher. Did I have an order set for the 10 tick? I waited for just a little bit to see what was going to happen. I wanted to see if it was going to bounce off here. And so then I had a cell sitting up here ready to go, and I just had to bring it down and throw it on. So I have one ready an awful lot of the time. So, okay, so that was my first. I just took a bounce, assuming that it was going to bounce, and then it went up here, and it passed this line, and I didn't like where it ended up in limbo. It just didn't do anything. So when it started coming down, I took the bounce down. And I kind of made a mistake here. I was going for 10 ticks, and instead of, I didn't pull my stop down and get stopped out at that point. I don't know, I just wasn't, human error, user error, and by mistake it started going down, and I thought, okay, I'll take it. So I did. I got 20. I was really going for 10, and it was sheerly luck on my part, because I don't know where I set it down, where my stop and protected a little weird, but anyway, I didn't protect 10, and then it bounced on down and I got 20. I pulled it down fast once it got down there, because normally I have the 10 tick, and I'm just taking 10 ticks when it's bouncing like this. And then when it went back up, I decided, okay, it was in the kind of a rhythm, and I've mentioned that a couple times today, that it had a good rhythm. I liked the way it was bouncing, and so I just decided I was going to go back up and try and catch my another 10, and I got it. And then it went past, and this time it bounced. It didn't bounce off that yet, I guess. It went up to here, but maybe, I'm not sure if it stopped on this line. I don't remember. I mean, I'm so intense on concentrating here. I honestly don't remember exactly where it looked like it was bouncing. Maybe it went up and it came down. I don't know. But I like the fact that this magnet was here. So again, I took it down for 10 ticks, and could have went to the red ice, but I don't know if it's going to hit the red ice. I don't like to assume it's going to hit where I think it's going to hit. So sometimes I'll protect, but in here I usually will just take the 10. And then it stopped on, what was this? Yes, the open, I guess it was. And I don't know. I was getting to the point where I wasn't real thrilled with the way it was behaving. So I didn't take any more for a little bit, and then it bounced up and hit exactly on that magnet, came down, and when it passed the red ice, I just kind of on a swingish type thing took it again, and got 20 ticks out of that one just because I don't know, it felt like it was a good move. Like the rhythm, it's so hard to explain how that bouncing happens. I mean, it's kind of weird. But anyway, it was doing nice, semi-predictable bounces. So I grabbed my 10, 20 on that one. And then it went down. Could have got some more, but I'm not about getting every little bit. I just want to get some. Where was your stop when I entered at the red ice? My stop would have been just above the red ice. It just would have been, 5 ticks or so. So a few ticks above, because it's chopping. So it might go a couple ticks above this ice, and I don't want to get stopped out. But if it goes much up, I don't want to be in it anymore. Because I didn't get in when it went up at the top, which is really where I should have been in. It would have been a little bit smarter on my part, because it hit so close that I should have really grabbed it here and went down. But I'm guessing it was probably oscillating up here, or there was something it was doing that I didn't like it, so I didn't take it. When it starts to oscillate a lot in a certain area, I stay out. It's like it's stopping and thinking and waiting, and then you might get a move. It might have went up and gone, and that may have been what it was doing, but I didn't like what it was doing up here, so that's why I did not get in and take it down. It eventually came down, and that was great, and I'd really have to guess that's what was happening, because by the time it got down here, I was thinking, hey, maybe we'll have our move here, because it did probably seem to, really almost stop up here. And it's something you can only get into replay and get a feel for it. And so anyway, that's what I did. And then by the time it got down below the ice, I was ready to take a chance that it was going to go down here, and I did. And I got 20. I protected at 20. I'm sure I protected probably at 10. I don't know. It's hard to say where I pulled it down. It just depends on where the market was moving. Totally depends on that, how it was moving. It came down, it bounced up, and again, I don't like where it stopped. I was kind of looking for more of a move, maybe to break through. I'm not going to take it down here to go up. But then once it bounced up and the red ice kind of held and it came back down, I was going to take it down again. I kind of thought maybe this was going to be an elevator and a sling, and it would come down and actually break, but it didn't. But I got my 10, barely. Then it looked to me like we had red divergence here, which means the red's done. We're going to want to go long. So that's where I called it out in the room, that it looked like we were going to be looking for a long trade. And so I got in when it passed the red ice again and went up. Well, it went up, but it decided it was going to take me out first. And it went up, and a couple people got in, and they protected profits in here. Smart people. I didn't. But I only had a 4-tick stop. I lost 4 ticks. I was not too worried about it. I thought it was worth the risk to see if it was going to touch back on the ice and go back up, because everything said to me that it was going up. So I was going to just stick with my convictions and leave my stop alone at 4, not move it. I got stopped out. And then it finally did come back. It hit this magnet exactly. There's a bunch of zones of interest, as we're calling them, in here. And so I don't have them marked because there were so many, I didn't bother. I know that this area and this magnet, this is a magnet from today, and there's an area in here, basically between here, that I know is huge, and it came down and it hit that. And so I just knew that was a messy area. And once it started moving out of that area and totally getting away from all that chop, I jumped in again when it went 3 ticks past settlement, barely got my 10 ticks, and it decided to turn around. And that was it. I was pretty much done. The chop was becoming untradeable, in my opinion. I couldn't predict it anymore, and so I didn't want to play. If I can't get a rhythm and a feel for how it's moving, I don't want to be in. And so that point, that's when I wait for a movement away from it. I'm not taking another trade until it passes through all this chop. I don't care if it's a move up. If it was a move up, then I'm going to tend to want to wait till it gets past this line, this magnet. And I'm going to be prepared to take profit at these magnets. Oh, I did not just do that. At these magnets. Because, they're some pretty to the high of the day, and a double thick magnet again from yesterday. It might go past it, but I'm going to want to be careful when it gets up here. How do you get market replay? You can, on the home page of Apex, at the bottom of the page, you can download a market replay data loader or something, I forget. But it's the home page of Apex has at the bottom. Click on that, and it is in, if you look at your control center, you go to File, I believe it's in Utilities. You can download market replay data from here. You download each day. You can download one day at a time through here, and then you just connect the feeds when you've got it downloaded, and you just connect market replay connection, and it will play you one day at a time. Yeah, that's what you thought was a touchback. And the reason that I remember that, we were talking about that in the room, that at right up here, you were thinking this was going to be a touchback to settlement. And okay, there's something I didn't mention when we were talking about that in the room. Stu said he thought this was going to be a touchback, so he took it as a touchback, and of course it went on. And when I was looking at it and responding in the room, I had said, well, you had just a couple bars before, you had this huge sling. The other thing, and a couple things here, you had a huge sling, and where was this sling through? Settlement. What does a sling through settlement tell you? It tells you you are not going to get a touchback through settlement. It's going to have chop at the least. And I mean, you had plenty of slings through settlement all morning, and not that that meant anything at this point, but when you have a touchback to settlement, it has to be perfect. Absolutely has to be perfect. You always have to have a good, strong, clean trend. Well, this big bar in the middle of this trend right there, that told me there's no way that this would be a good setup for a settlement touchback. So I would not have, I didn't take it, I wouldn't have taken it. But settlement has to have it needs the prettiest setup. I can't talk. It needs the prettiest setup of all. So the fact that there was a big sling 3 bars before the setup bar for a sling would have been, that told me a lot. But the fact that it was a sling right through settlement, that was the nail on the coffin. Would not have wanted to take that. So any other, let's see, kind of going through questions here. I think we got them all the questions. Any other questions about the chop? I'll turn the recording part off. Okay, well, looks like we got them all. Hope I covered it. It's really hard to tell after the fact, just because it oscillates on the same bar, and in real time that's kind of easier to read. But going back, I don't remember what it was doing on this bar that made me want to jump in. So it's really difficult, and I apologize for that. But I do remember there was this one, I do remember it was oscillating on one of these bars a lot. back and forth just within the bar, and that's really tight chops. So that just tells me, when I get past a level, I'm going to want to, it might break out. Well, it kind of broke out. It gave me 20 ticks. Okay, the last trade, let's see. The sling before settlement. The last trade you're in before settlement. Went above settlement. Okay, I'm not following. You waited for the previous bar to close and the price. This last trade I took, when I thought this was going to go up and then I got stopped out and it went up anyway, the reason that I got back in more than anything else was because I saw let's see, this. No, I can't make, I saw this go down to this. That told me the red was done. The cells were done. So, and we don't see that until this bar. This little green has to print. And for me, I have to have a second green to print. And so by the time we get that, we're on this bar, which is where I got in. I'm seeing at this point, the reds are probably done. It's looking like it's going to go up. It had oscillated around enough, really tight, that I really thought we were probably going to have a little nice breakout. If I had set my stop further down, I never would have been stopped out, and I would have grabbed a nice, what would that have been, 20 ticks? At least, probably. That was what kept my conviction going on this. And I was stopped out because I hid behind this red ice and behind this magnet. I actually had a 4-tick stop, and it ended up being right in here. So if I would have given it a little more room to this magnet, and there was a zone of interest in here, and I didn't mark it on my chart, so I forgot about it. And that, that was on me. I should have had my stop lower, but I totally spaced off this zone of interest because I didn't mark it on my chart because I was playing ping pong when it called out with all this chop up here. So that cost me the 4 ticks. Had I paid attention, I probably would have put my stop, a normal stop for a sling, which would have been 20 ticks, and I probably wouldn't have been stopped out, and I would have followed through. But I saw that red going from big red to little red, and so I really saw a trend coming on. 20 ticks to me is a little bit of a trend. In a choppy day, I'll take it. And that is why once it passed settlement, again, I was in, and it closed above settlement. I'm all about that. So the re-entry was based on that. Yes, it was. I set this entry here based on the bar range, because when this bar was forming, I could see my bar range indicator, which I guess with no feed, well, let's see. Okay, this indicator right here tells me where this bar is going to close, and so I used that to tell me where to set this order if it closed above settlement. And so that's where I got in there. So it didn't go very far. This time I was all about protecting some ticks. I kind of was hoping it would make a move, but it didn't, and so you have to be prepared for anything. The new indicator is volume. Oh, I can never. Accumulation and distribution. I always forget that. That's why it's called VAD. And we're learning how to read it, and when we get good at it, as we feel comfortable with it, we will be calling out trades. That's why I called this in the room as it looked like I said look for a buy, because that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So that one was pretty obvious, and I'll take that all day long. It didn't end up being a whole lot of something, but You know, if the stop would have been right, it would have been a nice 20, 30 tick. The recording will be somewhere, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll probably have it linked to the C's post since it's dealing with chop. Because this is really not, I don't normally record these, so. Okay, any other questions, and I'll turn the recording off, so I mean, we can keep going, but I want to keep the recording kind of compact and to the point. Anything else about any of that? Okay, I'm going to pop the recording off.